This is the North Miami Planning Commission meeting for Tuesday, May 5th, 2015. We'll wait for a few more people to walk in here before we I'd like to go ahead and let's go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Secretary, may we have call of the roll call, please?
Vice Chair Charles Ernst.
Present.
Emmanuel Genti.
Present.
Daniel Calixte. Peggy Boulay. Jason James.
Present.
William Prebatel.
Present.
And Kenny Each.
Present.
Very good, thank you. At this time, staff, are there any amendments to the agenda?
Yes, good evening, everybody. Yeah. There was supposed to be an update from the complaint, and then as you can see in that email, that memo that Tanya had sent you, because there was a workshop last week, the consultant needed a little bit more time to incorporate all those inputs. And then, this item will be before you at the next planning commission meeting. But what they're gonna do, they wanna bring you this by May 18, so at least you have like a full 2 weeks to really dig into the document and see if you have any comments, then you can bring it for the meeting, and you can further forward those, to the city council, for adoption, to be included in the complaint. And another item, we also have alternative plat approval tonight. I don't see the applicant here, but it's at the discretion of you or the commission. You can hear the item, and I don't think legal has any issue with that. It's just a plat or T-plat, or you can move it back, to the end. But it's all up to you.
Well, we could take it out of order and wait till the end of the night.
Yes, sir, we can. Giving the opportunity for the applicant to arrive, and in the event the applicant does not arrive, we can proceed in his absentia.
Okay, very good. Do we need to get a full board approval to move with that?
Yeah, you can vote to amend the item to move it to the end, and then we can proceed with the second item.
All right, very good.
That's on the agenda. Thank you.
Okay, so let's go ahead and I'll call for a motion that we move PC 815 to the end of the meeting. That was going to be the first item in the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Or I need a motion on that first, if I could, please.
I'll second.
Mr. Prevotel makes a motion. I have a second from Emmanuel. All in favor again?
Aye.
Aye. Approved. Okay, so item PC 815 will now move to the third item. Now, communications.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
May I ask a question regarding scheduling? As you mentioned, as was mentioned, there was the possibility we had requested information from staff to be able to review items regarding the comprehensive plan.
Correct.
Can we still have our discussion at the end of the meeting after the other items are addressed?
I would think that we're allowed to do that under the new business at the end of the meeting if we need to address that
absolutely.
issue. All right, very good. Thank you.
Well, that's really for the public in case they want to have input as well.
Right. That'll be discussed during the new meeting with regards to what was originally going to be an update on the EAR that we were supposed to be presented to by the consultants tonight.
Yes.
And since it was asked to be moved, then we will discuss that in new business as to what steps we want to proceed with on that. Okay, staff? All right. So any other items on the amendments to the agenda? None?
No.
All right. Let's go ahead and move to the approval of minutes for the meeting of April 7th, 2015.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes.
Mr. Each makes a motion to approve the minutes of April 7th. Do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Prevotel seconds the motion. On communications, before we get started, I'd like to take this opportunity before we get into all the items on the agenda. Several of the issues that are before us tonight, I had contacted Mr. Galdos regarding having some conversations with several members of the community regarding the item PC 1015. This is an item that we'll be addressing second tonight on the agenda. I was approached by a gentleman, Mr. Ken Burns, who is a proponent for this item, and he did express the fact that he is a proponent of the item, and I did let him know that I would disclose that he did address me with the issue, and that he would be here tonight to speak in favor of it. And then I believe Councilman or Councilwoman Carol Keys on Thursday at the Ethics Commission had expressed some information that there were a lot of citizens that had some concern also about that item. So I did have some prior communications with regards to that issue. And I did point out that I did not want to discuss it with them because of the fact that it was an item coming up before the commission. And also that item regarding PC get a second here. PC 1015. I am a customer of the Volkswagen dealer, or the Volvo dealership that is petitioning for this proposal, and I've been a customer of theirs for almost 15 years, I guess. And it just so happens when I took my car in for servicing, they mentioned to me that they were looking for a location in North Miami. I was unaware that it was this particular area that they were looking at. And of course, North Miami Volvo used to be owned by Warren Henry, so there was some confusion as to whether or not I thought it was another piece of property, not knowing this until I looked at the at our agenda items and discovered that North Miami Volvo and Warren Henry were under the same umbrella at one time. So I just want to make a disclosure on that, Counselor. If there's any other questions on that, but again,
There's no direct benefit to you in any way?
No,
And it's-
no, sir.
Okay, so it's just a straightforward communication?
Right.
Okay.
okay.
Anything else?
No, is there anyone
Mr.
else
Chair?
that had any communications prior to the meeting with anyone
Yes.
regarding any of the items on the agenda?
Yeah, for the same PC, Kevin Burns also approached me as well.
Anyone
Yes,
else?
and I too on PC 10, PC 1015, had spoken briefly with Kevin Burns, former Mayor Kevin Burns, and had received emails from various citizens with concern regarding the project. Just both sides.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else? Okay.
I met Mr. Burns, and I believe it was one of the principals of the business had a dedication for Johnson and Wales statue. Very innocuous conversation that Volvo was looking at the property over there, and that was approximately 2 weeks ago, whatever date it was that we dedicated that statue. The Wildcats.
Very good. Okay, so we've discussed item the communications. At this point, staff, do we have any continued public hearings?
No, sir.
Very good. All right, we'll move on to the public hearing portion of the meeting. As mentioned before, we have moved PC 815 down to the last item. We'll now go ahead and go with PC 915. 915 is an ordinance of the mayor and the city council, City of North Miami, Florida, amending Chapter 29 of the North Miami Code of Ordinance entitled Land Development Regulations by amending Article 5 under Division 9 entitled Fences, Walls, and Other Similar Structures, specifically at Section 5-901 entitled General Standards for Residential and Non-Residential Districts, and Sections 5-902 entitled Maximum Height, to clearly establish appropriate regulations for the construction and use of opaque fences and walls in residential districts, and to further organize and streamline the specific sections for greater clarity and consistency with the intent of the North Miami Comprehensive Plan, providing for repeal, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and for an effective date. Staff report, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This item was sponsored by, Councilman Scott Galvin, and which, like you mentioned before, involved text amendment to Article 5, Division 9, Section 5-901, and Section 5-902 of the Land Development Regulations to establish consistent minimum requirements for the construction and use of opaque fences in residential districts. As staff was reviewing, we're working on the text amendment, and there was also a need, to streamline and organize certain specific sections of that division because it lacks, clarity and consistency. So in the code right now, Section -5901C, it prohibits, completely opaque fence or walls in the required front yard setback of all residential districts. And if you read further in Section 5-902C1, and then the code also says that for the purposes of fences and walls, all corner lots in single-family residential districts shall have 2 front yards. And then there was some complaints that was brought to Councilman Galvin with residents who owns a corner lot, they're trying to have like a fence or an opaque fence to allow for a greater privacy in the backyard. But because those corner lots, according to Section 5-902, they have 2 front yards, so they cannot put any opaque fence. So and then this item was therefore, brought to staff, we look on what other municipalities are doing, and usually it's always in the front yard where the house fronts, the front yard, they don't allow any opaque fence, which basically it's a matter of safety. You don't want to block, the side visibility triangle, and anything, higher than 2 to 3 feet, that, can be a danger, as somebody's backing up from the driveway, there may be a kid on the sidewalk, or any pedestrian, and even another car. But if it's too high, but on the corner lot, if there's no driveway, leading to the right of way, it sometimes, it creates, it can be burdensome for some people. Let's say you have a pool in your backyard and there's no privacy. And then this is why, some residents were complaining to the city council member, and then that item was brought to us. So we look on what, other municipalities are doing, and then we're trying to bring some of those, same consistent minimum requirements into our code to address this issue. So, and then, as you can read in the staff before you, we have made this amendment to allow, a opaque fence in the corner lots, but not only not in the front yard. The front yard still be, like, a non-opaque fences, like a nice iron, a wrought iron fence, for example, or aluminum fences, but not, but in the corner lot, from the building line back to the rear yard, you can allow, some opaque fences. So this is the item before you, and then staff had made a recommendation for approval, and then so that's our recommendation.
So basically, it's only a text amendment with the corner house. For instance, I have a corner house.
Yeah.
My preference is that I like to have my side open for security reasons so that you can see in. Other people provide privacy.
Yeah.
So what Mr. Galvin is proposing and addressing is the fact that those people that, if I wanted to put up a privacy fence,
Yes.
a slotted fence or a wooden fence at
Yeah,
a
that's
6 feet
possible.
height, then you can, as long as the side setback is not interfering with the front yard portion.
And also, if you have a driveway, you don't want to put anything over 2 feet leading to the at least 10 feet from that driveway, because if you're backing up in your car,
That's consistent with what we have now.
Exactly.
That's not changing.
that's not changing.
All right, very good.
Let me, may I ask you a question? With regards to on page 7 and 9, paragraph C1, opaque fences or walls.
Mr. Each, we don't hear you.
Yeah, my mic is on, you hear
There
me?
you go. Now we hear you.
Okay.
Which page?
Page 7 of 9, fences or walls in residential districts shall be subject to the following minimum requirements. Opaque fences or walls completely. I'm looking at subparagraph 1 here, and it says, opaque fences or walls shall be allowed in the required backyard, side yard, or side street not exceeding 6 feet in height and subject to division clearance requirements set forth in 904. But you're saying that they should be prohibited in the front yard. Any fence can, you know, I walk in the morning, I see some beautiful fences out there that are in the front yard. Now, is that just gonna make them illegal, or what are we doing? I'm a little.
Well, I believe we're only addressing
now-
corner houses. It's only corner houses where there's an intersection.
I'm,
So that the intersection, in other words, the ordinance, the way it reads now, is that you can have a fence that.
6 feet you're talking about,
That is opaque.
and anything
Right,
over 3
that's
feet.
opaque, that, in the front yard on the corner, so that if a car wants to, their visibility is not prohibited, if they wanna make a left or a right turn or whatever. So that exists right now, that they cannot have that. It's always, that's the way that the ordinance is currently written. and
Yeah, but
will
I
stay
see
that
these
way.
beautiful fences that
Yeah,
automatic,
if they're-
the gates,
Yeah, but they're not.
and,
I'm sorry, sir, please hold your
I'm
your
sorry, what
comments
was
till
your-
we have a public hearing, and we'll open the public hearing, and we'll allow you to speak on it.
I see
Let
these,
Mr. Reach question staff first.
I
Thank
see
you.
these gates in the front. And I never measured them, but I thought they're, you know, pretty nice. See them on North Bay Shore Drive, I walk around, I see them. This is not prohibiting them, is it?
I mean, you can have a fence in the front yard, but as long as it's see-through, it
Right.
cannot be opaque.
Right, we're talking about
You could have a
extending,
solid fence.
Alright.
extending a wooden fence all the way out to the
Exactly.
corner of your
Alright.
property,
Yes.
right up to the edge of the sidewalk
Yes.
in most cases. So that's the clarity that we needed to get, and I think that Mr. Each was asking for. All right, any other questions before we go ahead and open up the public hearing, if
Yeah.
I can?
I have a question. So if a resident has a corner lot and they currently do have a legal driveway and they do want to put up an opaque fence, then they would have to remove the driveway in order to
Mm.
put,
No, what would happen, they would have to meet, the vision clearance requirements also, because within 10 feet of that driveway leading to that.
oh, okay.
So they cannot have any, I mean, you can have an opaque fence right now, but it cannot be no higher than 2 or 3 feet
Yeah,
to allow when you sit in your car, so you can
Yeah.
see, what's coming, yeah.
But if they meet the vision requirements
Is it-
and
so
they
it's-
still have a driveway, they can technically have an opaque fence?
No, if you have a driveway, you still get, yeah, you can have a fence in that opaque fence in that corner lot, in that frontage on that corner street, but it has to meet that vision,
Right.
the side distance triangle requirement.
Correct.
And I believe it also addresses hedges, if I'm not mistaken. The code
Yes.
enforcement can cite you if you have a hedge that goes all the way out
Yeah.
to the edge and it's blocking,
It's a form of
Property,
fencing. Yeah.
because I've had to cut a tree back
Yeah.
being on a corner lot, and code is nice enough to tell me beforehand, please make sure that you keep that trimmed so it's not to block the vision. So that it does address not only fences, but hedges too.
Hedges, yes.
Okay. All right, at this point, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this ordinance, please come forward, state your name and address. And I see one gentleman coming forward. Thank you, sir. Good evening. May I have your name and address, please?
Robert Fleming, 2205 Arch Creek Drive, Keystone Point. I think that one of the reasons I'm a GC, it's not to create compounds. You put an opaque fence across, it's 6 feet tall. Everybody does it. You're going down a little corridor, everything looks like a compound. It's also for aesthetics.
All right, sir. Anything else? Thank you. Anyone else? Going once, going twice. Okay, public hearing is now closed. Open for further discussion among the commission members. Mr. Reed?
I would just agree that when you do have the high hedges and fences, such as in Palm Beach, as affluent as it is, it's such an alienating experience. Everybody's segregated off and walled off. It's not a very pleasant community. It's the appearance of great security, yet surprisingly low livability as a community. So I would support the measure as
Very
it
good.
stands.
You know, this ordinance doesn't, you're talking side yards, you're talking backyards.
Right.
When I walk down North Bay Shore in the morning, I see beautiful fences in front, automatic gates, they're not 6 feet high. Some of them you can see through, some of them, they have a design in it you can't see through. Let's face reality, you know, we live in Miami, people are gonna, you know, want fences, they want security.
Right.
And as long as it's not detrimental to the neighborhood or it detracts from the beauty of the neighborhood, I say, hey, go ahead and do it, you know? And I don't have a problem with this in the backyard or the side yard. I think it's a good thing. You want your privacy, especially on a side street, like on 14th Avenue or something like that, where you have a lot of traffic. Put up a fence. You want to sit out there and use your pool or whatever, and you don't want everybody gawking in on you. Why not?
Emmanuel?
Yeah, and I agree. I agree with that. I mean, I have a few people that I know that own corner lot properties, and that's one of their main concerns. It's that, their privacy, pools, different things like that. They have little kids that are, outside on the weekends, having fun in the back, and on a corner lot, it's a lot of traffic. So I mean, I agree. I agree with that.
Peggy Boulay, by the way, Peggy has joined us. Let the record show Peggy Boulay has joined us, and prior to this item being introduced, so she is fully participating. Peggy, do you have any comment on this?
Yes. Good evening. No. Yeah. Good evening, everyone. I would agree with my other two counterparts. I do understand to the point of the gentleman speaking on behalf of it being aesthetically pleasing. However, you bought your home because it's something that you want to own, and you want to design your home however you so please. And if putting up a privacy fence, or maybe growing some hedges, or something to that effect to make your home, in your opinion, more aesthetically pleasing and adding some sense of privacy, as well as ensuring that maybe your small children or your guests or what have you are safe, being in your backyard or your side lot, or what have you, are safe, then I see no problems with it. I think the sizes are comprehensible. I don't see anything wrong with the measurements that were provided for the residents who so choose to add these provisions to their homes. So I would say, as far as that point is concerned, I would agree with my two counterparts.
Yes, sir. Emmanuel?
Other cities, they're doing this also, correct? They're allowing residents.
Yeah, because we look at a few municipalities, you look at their zoning code, it's really in the front yard where you will really have, that sort of restriction. Because though you want to have a fence, I see a planning commission, a member, he would agree with me. One of the purpose of the fence, not only provides a sense of security, they also frame that street. But you don't want, like the gentleman mentioned, that a fence would be like, like a fortress, like you have a barrack, like, if you have those sort of opaque fence in the front of the house.
Okay.
But on the side, it's not that much of, because it's still a side. It's the side, it's not like, the main entrance of the property. And, I mean, it can, to a proper review, we can still ensure, maybe add something to ensure that certain type of fence, even opaque, are not allowed on that corner street, so as not to deter from the aesthetic quality of the neighborhood. I mean, we can further add to this also, but other municipalities, you don't see, I've seen a lot of zoning codes. When you see for the purpose of fences, corner lot, is supposed to have 2 front yards. I mean, it's something that is really unique to this community, to this code. No, I'm not saying this community, to this code.
This, if I may add, we looked at several municipalities, as Mr. Nixon has just indicated, and this development seems to strike the best balance between safety, privacy, and security.
Right.
And so we would like to put it to the test, and if we have to come back and tweak it later, we will.
I might add that, I know when I do my daily jog through the neighborhood and breeze swept, there are a lot of houses that have despite having fences, they've grown hedges for privacy. They've even put wooden fences up inside that opaque fence for privacy. So it does exist, and quite frankly, they're quite nice looking, and it does pretty much kind of add to the neighborhood a little bit, because a lot of them have put in some very expensive white slotted fences or really nice looking wooden fences, and actually might even prove beneficial, so we don't have to see a lot of stuff that those people store in the backyard. So, and it gives them their privacy.
And to add also, and we have complaints from neighbors, really, from residents where they live, like, we have a T intersections. And sometimes, you know, they're afraid to have their kids playing in the front yard because they
Right.
cannot put a solid fence, really, because the car, you know, a lot of times you see cars get into the fence and break into those,
Sure.
some of those fences that they are required to provide by code now.
Right.
And then by allowing them to put like maybe like a low wall in front of the house, and then
Sure.
that will help, you know, with safety, really.
All right, very good. Any other comments from the panel? I'll go ahead and entertain a motion from any. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, and also in terms of safety, I can speak from personal experience. I live smack dab in the middle of my block, and I live on the main street of 125th Street. On each corner, on both sides of going east and west, there has been an accident where a car has run into everyone's yard, and I've been living there for over 26 or so years. And at least once a year, there's an accident where a car has run into someone's yard. And most of the homeowners on my block, many of them all have children. So in terms of safety, I do see why this ordinance would be necessary.
Thank you, Ms. Miller.
Guardrails,
Question.
actually.
Yeah. All right, go ahead. I'll,
If
again, yes, one other item. Go ahead.
there's, for people that has the fences now, what happens? Do they have to do anything as far as building and zoning? If it were approved, do they have to go back and do an after the fact permit, or?
I mean, we have some issues where there were fences, you know, that was illegally built. Built without permit. I mean, and they were opaque fences, and for the same reasons. And some of them, you know, they were denied because they say they have to buy a city, and then they end up building the fence anyways. And then we had like a few instances, and then it's basically a matter of code. But by allowing this, then we can fix that issue, because people, some of them, they do put those fence illegally. And then one of the concern about, you know, that gentleman who brought that to Councilman Galvin, and then when his application, his permit was denied, so he went around the city and then taking pictures and say this was approved, this was, and then, you know, some of the fences, when you look at the property, they didn't pull a permit, unfortunately.
Right.
If by the passage of this ordinance, an existing structure becomes illegal, they're automatically grandfathered in and protected until such time as the structure is either destroyed or replaced. Then it would have to comply with the code.
Okay.
So we're not going to automatically go out there and start citing fences which do not comply with this particular code
Okay.
as adopted. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney, for the clarification.
Okay, once again, I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Mr. James, motions for approval, seconded by Mr. Each. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. And by the way, Katrina, I need to sign the minutes if I could before I forget. Yeah, I have one. I'll give it to you after the meeting. Let's go ahead and move on. Next item on the agenda is PC 1015. Sorry about that. Item PC 1015, an ordinance of the mayor and the city council of the city of North Miami, Florida, amending chapter 29 of the North Miami Code of Ordinance entitled Land Development Regulations by amending Article 4 under Division 3 entitled Non-Residential Districts, specifically at Section 4-302 entitled Uses Permitted to establish a retail showroom automobile as a special exception use in the C2BW district to foster economic growth in the city, and amending Article 7 at Section 7-101 entitled Definitions to provide for a definition of retail showroom automobile, as well as establishing clear regulations for said use consistent with the intent of the city's comprehensive plan, providing for repeal, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for codification, and for an effective date. May we have staff report, please?
This application was submitted by BRAC Holdings, which is under contract to acquire the ground floor and a portion of the enclosed garage of the building at 12550 Biscayne Boulevard. And the intent is to establish a flagship automobile showroom there for Volvo, which is, as per the letter of intent, has approved this North Miami location to serve as a flagship concept for the relaunch of the brand. The retail automobile showroom they envisioned for the site is going to be done completely indoor. It's not going to be like a car lot where you have a bunch of cars in it. It's not even going to be like the Fiat dealership, which is more like a car boutique, which is not allowed in the code under the category of retail sales and services. And then this, as it stands, doesn't exist really as a use in our code. And then the other automotive use we have is just basically a car dealership, which is allowed in the industrial district. And this new concept, which has been experimented, in very dense urban centers like New York, and then you see communities across South Florida has been trying to do that now. You got the one in Coral Gables, and then we got North Miami Beach, where it's completely indoor. It's not really a nice sort to the community. And they try to implement that here in the city. So as a result, because this use does not exist in our code, they're doing a text amendment to allow that in the C2BW district. The C2BW is basically the west side of Biscayne Boulevard. And the definition that is being proposed is or use the principal use or purpose of which shall be the marketing and display of new automobiles, whether by sale, lease, or any other commercial or financial means, within an enclosed building and attendant parking structures. Instead, use which shall be operated on a site of at least 1 acre may include, among other uses, inventory, on-site facility for minor vehicle services, and also provided that the sales of automobile doesn't, exceed 30% is basically subordinate to the principal use, and that no more than 15% of the gross building area devoted to that use is being used for minor vehicle service. And then the minor vehicle service, it's basically in the code in Article 7, so we're trying to be consistent by including that, which is the code really defines that an activity conducted entirely within an enclosed structure, primarily involving in servicing or repairing of automobiles and other similar-sized vehicle or transport mechanism. And then vehicle service minor shall include washing, waxing, changing of oil, tuning, installing mufflers, detailing, window tinting, shock absorbers, and painting. And painting is not so much like, like you go, you do auto body work where your car comes, they do all the work and then they paint it. Basically, to remove, minor dent, buff it a little bit, and then, spray paint in our vehicle. So that's why we feel, staff feel comfortable to add that, not that it's going to be like a full-blown, auto repair services, like for major services. And then when we review this text amendment, to the criteria of the code, so we do find that it meets that this text amendment meets really those criteria. So, and As you can see in the report, we have made the recommendation to approve this. And, but we have also attached certain conditions. Because the use, we established the use in the text, but it's going to be a special exception. That will have to go in front of the Board of Adjustment to be approved, just like in the M1 right now. Automobile dealership are allowed only to special exception. They can either impose further conditions on it or even deny it or approve it, but it's not going to be administratively done. And then that will also require DRC approval, because we have to review the site plan to make sure that it meets, some of the, landscaping, design standards of our code. And then we also add a condition for transparency, like the street-facing facades fronting Biscayne Boulevard shall have transparent glazing that provides view into display and sales area. It's not going to be like a big block building with no aesthetic design. And then that shall be provided for at least 75% of the building. And then we've seen other places, that's what they do. And then outdoor storage should be prohibited. We don't allow any car to be parked on the street, but within the building. And then
If I could just briefly interrupt you, just for the other commissioners' sake, we are looking at page 5 of 6 under
the conclusion.
what the applicant's conditions are.
Yes.
And also for the public that's listening out in the audience, there are exactly 13 items
Yeah.
that Nixon is going through, and we're currently on item number 3. So if you could go ahead and
Yeah,
pretty much go through and read them completely for the record, that'll
okay,
help
yes, I'll do that.
everybody understand.
Yes, the development standards which the applicant in this case had agreed to, and which would be, imposed on any other use along a special exception use approval for that new use. First, there will be a special exception use approval. The use shall be established to a special exception use approved by the Board of Adjustment at a public hearing, and shall be subject to all the limitations as may be deemed necessary to protect the public health, safety, and welfare of the city residents. Item number 2, Development Review Committee site plan approval. That upon the approval of the special exception use or site plan shall be submitted to the Development Review Committee for final concurrency determination and to further promote orderly growth and aesthetic quality in the C2 BW zoning district. Transparency. Street-facing facades fronting Biscayne Boulevard shall have transparent glazing that provides views into display and sales areas. Transparent windows or doors shall be provided for at least 75% of the building wall area located between 2.5 and 7 feet above the level of the sidewalk. No wall may run in a continuous horizontal plane for more than 25 feet without any opening. Outdoor storage prohibited. No outdoor storage of vehicles, whether for display or awaiting repair and maintenance, shall be permitted in connection with the automobile showroom. Item number 5, abandoned vehicles prohibited. No abandoned vehicles shall be stored on the premises. Number 6, vehicular test drives restricted. Vehicular test drives shall be restricted to Biscayne Boulevard and shall not be conducted on residential local traffic streets with 50-foot right-of-way. Item number 7, advertisement prohibited. Attention attracting devices such as blinking or flashing lights, streamer lights, pennants, banners, streamers, and all fluttering, spinning advertising device, either mobile or stationary, shall be prohibited except as permitted under point of sale sign regulations. In parking location, all vehicle storage and the bulk of the required parking shall be located in the rear of the building, save for any required customer parking, which shall be located as close to the front entrance as permitted by the site restrictions. 9, screening of parking required. Parking shall be opaque and concealed within garages, which shall be screened from abutting properties as allowable by the LDRs. Business hours. Hours of operation shall be between 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. Loading and unloading restricted. All loading and unloading shall occur either on the subject site or on the public right-of-way adjacent to the subject site, excluding Biscayne Boulevard, or on a loading zone within 250 feet of the subject site in the event loading and unloading cannot be accommodated on site due to site constraints or on the adjacent street subject to DRC approval. Parking standards. Parking shall be provided in accordance with the requirements set forth in Article 5, Division 14 of the LDRs for automotive uses. And declaration of restrictive covenants. All these conditions shall be binding toward declaration of use or restrictive covenants, which will be recorded with the Miami-Dade County Clerk of Court. Those were the condition that we have also attached to the approval of this item. And now I want also to mention that the applicant in this case, even though this is our text amendment which involves the entire district, but the applicant has also provided a traffic analysis. And then, based on that traffic analysis that the applicant submitted, it shows that the proposed use will generate 72 less trips during the morning peak hours and 152 less trips during the afternoon peak hour, for a total of 224 less peak hour trips and an overall daily total of 811 less vehicle trips than the existing bank use. So I just wanted to point that out, because basically, based on that traffic analysis, the use will really have a de minimis impact on Biscayne Boulevard. And then this is one of the reasons why we also look at this, because we know there's a traffic concern, because Biscayne Boulevard can be a gridlock at times. So we look at this, and then so that's why staff feel comfortable, making a recommendation for approval for this item. Thank you.
Thank you. Is the petitioner here? At this point, I'd like to go ahead and call the petitioner up to speak, or the representative.
Sure.
I see.
Mr. Chairman, if you give us a moment to set up some display boards.
Very well, sir.
May I ask a question of staff during this time?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, on item number 4 that you were reading a little bit earlier, it says outdoor storage prohibited, no outdoor storage of vehicles, comma, whether for display or for waiting, repair, and maintenance. We can assume, but we may want to write it in there, that no outdoor storage of vehicles and/or vehicle-related components. You don't want to see oil drums and boxes or stacks of tires or anything else related to that. And I just hope that that's clear in this writing, that it's.
Can you repeat that again, please?
Well, it may need to be amplified, because it's calling out specifically vehicles. Again, it's number 4, and it says outdoor storage prohibited. No outdoor storage of vehicles, whether for display or awaiting repair and maintenance, shall be permitted in connection with the retail automobile showroom. I believe the intention, but it's not written, is that also there is no storage of vehicle-related parts.
Yes, okay.
That being stacks of tires, boxes, supplies, mufflers,
Yes.
pennants, any upholstery material, anything related to that
Yes,
that
the use, yeah.
would be objectionable under normal circumstances. Thank you.
Is the petitioner ready?
Thank you.
Let the record show that the commission is getting additional information handed to them from Mr. Burns, so I take it you will be the spokesperson for the petitioner.
At the beginning, yes, sir.
Okay, go ahead and introduce yourself, sir, and
Good evening. My name is Kevin Burns, 2065 Alamanda Drive, North Miami. Also, I live in a neighborhood called Keystone Point. I'm here today representing, in conjunction with the principals of Volvo of North Miami. For the record, I am registered as a lobbyist in the city of North Miami, and I have had conversations with numerous members of the council, of the commission, and of staff, and members of the community, just as the members of this board had spoken about previously. Why are we here tonight? Despite what some of the rumors may or may not be, it is not to bring mass destruction to North Miami. What we're here tonight is asking for a text amendment. We're not asking for zoning change. We're not asking to deviate from the comp plan. We're not asking other than a clearer definition of certain permitted uses that already exist. The text amendment is to allow an auto showroom within the confines of an existing building where all the automobiles that will be sold by Volvo will be within an enclosed building, the current parking garage. The property is located at 12550 Biscayne Boulevard. It is a 45-year-old building. Many people will know it as the old Wells Fargo Bank building. It was also Barnett, and it was numerous other uses. It is a mixed-use not mixed-use, but it's currently an office condo. And there's doctors and lawyers and traffic people and PR firms that are all within there. The existing parking garage has about 300 parking spaces in the 3-level parking facility right now. The applicant is asking, even though currently they are permitted, they would be currently permitted right now to put a showroom in the lobby of that building, and they would be allowed to display vehicles outside, and they would be allowed currently under current code, and your staff analysis says it, to put some cars in the parking garage. But that's not what they want to do. They want to do like numerous other cities and other communities have done, where the new modern auto showrooms are being built, such as the Collection in Coral Gables. Lexus in New York and Boston and Chicago have been doing this for 40, 50 years. That's the way you retail cars in the bottom of an office building or an apartment building. North Miami Beach just changed their zoning codes to accommodate this. West Palm Beach, downtown West Palm Beach, downtown Coral Gables, the Mercedes dealership. That is the wave of the future. A smaller footprint, vehicles inside, and with inside a parking structure so nobody on the outside will ever see how many cars are in there, whether they're being serviced or not serviced. But the only restriction that they have right now and why we're appearing before you is that they would not be, and they're not permitted, to change wiper blades, rotate tires, change the oil, or do minor repairs on the vehicles. So we have proposed a new language that is more truthful to what this actually is. It is an auto showroom with minor repairs. We're not reinventing the wheel, folks. This is what's being done all over the country. My clients are proposing to repurpose this 45-year-old building to spend multi-million dollars on renovating the lobby and refacing the parking garage. You have examples there. There's examples here for the public if the camera wants to show on them. These are some of the renderings. So they're coming before you to ask you to approve the text amendment. There's numerous reasons that I've heard that there may be some people in the community that might be opposed to this, rightfully so. Sometimes it's just misinformation that's put out there. Other times it's traffic concerns. Other issues are quality of life concerns, and also resistance to change. We're going to address each one of those. The misinformation that is out there is this is not a zoning change. This is a small text amendment and what is allowed. What I like to show you, is this book. About a $100,000 study that the city paid for. It's called the City of North Miami Downtown Development and Major Corridor Master Plan. It kind of lays out where the city wants to go. And then we have another list so that you know we're not trying to do something that isn't already envisioned in the city. According to existing plans and studies and other data, the development of Biscayne Boulevard and of this use and of what we're proposing is right here, and the numerous other studies. And these are current studies. The City of North Miami Land Development Regulations, the City of North Miami Comprehensive Plan, the City of North Miami 2011 to 2016 Capital Improvement Plan, the Urban Institute Technical Assistant Panel Report, April of 2009, the Buxton Company North Miami Retail Trade Study, April of 2009, City of North Miami Comprehensive Wayfinding Signage Design Analysis, City of North Miami Streetscape Design Study, North Miami Economic Development Action Plan, drafted on 7/23/10. North Miami Comprehensive Wayfinding Design Analysis Presentation. The City of North Miami Park and Ride. What this design and what this concept is all with keeping the hundreds of thousands of dollars that the city has invested in studies and restudies of how to attract businesses to North Miami. You now have a global company that has chosen to come to North Miami over other areas to repurpose an existing building. We're not starting from scratch. We're not creating something new. We are repurposing a building and going to put a beautiful showroom. It won't harm the traffic. You have the traffic display. A traffic analysis that was done by a firm that's very well respected in South Florida. Also, the city has used them before. It shows that 893 less daily trips with the use of this automobile showroom as opposed to the previous Wells Fargo site. I go in and out of Keystone Point every day. And I remember fighting the traffic and the people parking on both sides of the roads going into the lobby of that bank. It was a nightmare. That road is in deplorable condition. The bank has since recently moved over to another building, and I understand the tenants are having a lot of fun with all the parking challenges that that bank has brought to that area. So this group wants to improve the entrance to Biscayne Boulevard. They want to improve that building. They're going to raise the standards of and look of buildings in that area. They're going to create jobs. And you know what? We're no longer building parking garages, or I'm sorry, auto showrooms and dealerships that take up 5, 10, 20 acres of land anymore. Those days are gone. Miami is an urban area. We have urban infield. You can't go buy 3 acres, 5 acres on Biscayne Boulevard anymore. It's too expensive. So the thought is repurpose a building, go into existing uses, go into somewhere where you're not going to have a major impact. And that's what we're doing. They're going to come in and really make a beautiful building, the most beautiful building probably on Biscayne Boulevard when this is done. Minimum impact to the community, creating jobs. And at this time, I would like to introduce one of the principals who will tell you why Volvo USA and why Volvo wants to relocate from Miami Gardens here to North Miami, Mr. Chairman.
Good evening, sir. Go ahead and introduce yourself and
Good
give
evening,
your
sir. My
address.
name is Fernando Arellano, and my address is 20920 Northeast 30th Place, Aventura. I'm the principal of the group. I represent Volvo of North Miami in this meeting. We strongly believe that we are bringing to the city a great opportunity. Volvo and the next 10-year projects in the United States, they're seriously big. They're investing in the new plant, $500 million. This came out in the newspaper in the last weeks. These have been presented by, let me say, the manufacturer. And within this very big development, they are identifying major cities where to develop this kind of flagship. One of these main cities in the United States is going to be Miami. So Miami is following the trends in terms of one of the main attraction poles towards business. So we, as Volvo of North Miami, we have picked up the Mr. Warren Henry, Warren Sin business. We went through a buy-sell process with Mr. Warren Sin almost 2 years ago. and we have become one of the key players for the brand in United States. We are #1 dealership in Florida. We have came out #4 in the Southeast Business Center, and we are #14 in the ranking in United States of 300 dealers. How we do that? We do that with a high quality in terms of processes, of performance, and for sure of physical evidence. I represent a group coming from Argentina, and one of the things that we have always been doing is have this kind of physical evidence of representation of the brand in a very qualitative way. As you can see here, you will have let me say, a current building that it was built, let me say, 34 years ago with a total refresh look. We're gonna also take care of the parking lot. Okay, the parking lot on the back of the building is still dated to that point in time. So in terms of the look and feeling of the building, we are totally comfortable that we're gonna give a big asset to the city. The second thing is in terms of revenues. We are gonna add on top of the current taxes situation towards the city a $30 million revenue business on yearly basis. You need to do a calculation, or Kevin could help us with the calculation of what this is gonna mean towards the city and towards the service and the contribution to the financial statement of the city. The third thing that I would like to address is in terms of work placement. We're gonna keep the operation on 441. So all the used car business is gonna stay on 441. This is gonna be mainly a new car operation. Yes, we're gonna have a used car request of the manufacturer on the back of the building, but it's gonna be very, very small. But let me say, the main asset for a used car operation is gonna remain on 441. Saying that, our head count target, let me say, new requirements for employees on this operation is gonna be between 30 to 40 people from the city. We already speaking with Johnson Walsh because many of the people that we're gonna employ could be students from Johnson Walsh or could be open to the city, let me say, employment proposals that you would like to address. And I'm the face of the project, so we're always looking forward to discuss with the council, to discuss with whomever have whatever kind of doubts towards the project, in order to understand which are the requests of the neighborhoods, and if we can, let me say, adapt the project to requests, we're gonna be always more than happy to do that. This is the reason I'm stand up in here, because I think that Mr. Kevin Burns did a perfect speech in perfect English. My English is not as perfect as Mr. Kevin Burns, but somehow you have a face that represents the company, and we are looking forward to work in team with the city in order to make this tax amendment request passed. We have been convinced by Mr. Kevin Burns that we could do this in the North Miami City, I'm sorry, because we have other proposals to locate this. But this out-of-the-box mixed-use solution, we think that is an incredible opportunity for us, and we strongly believe that's an incredible opportunity for the city. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sir, any questions to the petitioner before we move to the public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, undoubtedly there may be questions or remarks. I would hope that you give us the opportunity after public hearing and comments are made that we will be able to answer some of the questions. And of course, if any of you commissioners have questions, please feel free to jot them down and let us know, and we'll be happy to answer them here tonight for you. Thank you.
Okay.
Can I ask some of them now?
We have a couple questions before we start the public
Sure.
hearing, only because of the item information that we received. I have one, but if anybody wants to start first, Mr. Prevotel.
Either way. Just a few points of clarification, please. First, there's a, it is not shown on the rendering, but there is a sort of a finished area just outside the new curtain wall. How many cars, if any, what is the maximum number of cars that may be presented outside the property, outside the enclosure?
None.
None.
Right.
None at
All the vehicles are going to be displayed within the glass enclosed showroom, and the other cars will be inside the parking garage. There will be no cars out on the median, out in the grass, or anything like that. It's all going to be within the enclosed structure.
Okay. Next question. For people visiting to potentially look at these cars, they will be parking where?
Inside the parking garage. They pull into a customer parking. Very nice. If you've ever been to the Lexus dealership, reduce ours by about 150%. You pull in there, there's parking right by the service department. The same thing. There's more than ample parking, even with the modifications to this garage, that the customer will pull into a very nice finished garage and step right out. They will not be parking out on the street.
Okay, there will be incentive to go inside
Oh,
rather than
absolutely.
parking out on
Absolutely.
the street. Okay. Actually, I just have a couple other questions.
Anything else, Mr. Brevet?
Yeah, I may come back to that because I
All right.
just stopped my train of
Mr.
thought.
James?
Sorry.
Yeah. Since you're going to be renovating the structure, the existing structure, I'm assuming that you guys are more environmentally friendly, that you guys will be taking any type of lead initiatives.
Absolutely. I'm proud to say that the standards that I help initiate will be applied to this building. Everything from the glass that is used, to the landscaping, to the recovery of all the items that are used within the parking facility. So we're definitely going to meet those standards and achieve as much as we can.
Okay, but no particular aim for certification itself?
It's very tough on a pre-existing building and a pre-existing parking garage. I think we're going to end up being recognized for actually renovating a very dated and old parking structure that doesn't meet today's style. We would never allow that type of parking garage, that exposure to be built today. So they're going to make the investment to make a beautiful statement. It is a busy roadway there, and if you, I will give you pictures in a little bit about what it actually looks like today, and as opposed to what we're going to present.
Okay, and then the last question I had was related to the trip generation that you provide in the package. I saw that, and I'm not a traffic engineer, but what is the definition of a drive-in bank? Is it the same as a drive-through bank?
I had the same question. I said, what is a drive-in bank? It is a bank that has drive-throughs. The former Wells Fargo bank branch had 4 lanes of drive-throughs. It was actually the 3rd busiest Wells Fargo in South Florida. It generated, according to the landlords and to the bank information available, almost 1,000 trips between people going through the drive-through and people walking into the lobby of the bank. And people used to park everywhere. The dealership, as you can see, drops it down to less than 75 a day. Between, Volvo is not a major volume GM, Lexus type dealership that's selling hundreds of cars a month. They don't have that type of market share. It's a very niche market.
And the balance of the building?
The balance of the building is office condos. There's property that's leased out to other firms, and it's going to continue to exist.
Okay, and parking and all that is going to be cohesive with the
There's
uses?
more than adequate parking, even with the renovations that are going to take place in the parking garage. The standards are going to be raised. There's more than ample. Also, they do have the ability, if ever need be, they're only at 28 feet of the height. They could also add a little bit more if they ever needed to, but they're not anticipating that at this time.
A quick question on regarding the building. We have the property appraiser's report that was included in our package. What portion they in effect bought the bottom portion of the floor? They did not buy the entire building. Is that correct?
They're buying 58% of the building.
58%.
They are making an investment of buying 58% of the building. That is all the unsold office condos that are there.
Right.
But that building is 100% occupied at this time. and they bought the parking structure. So this is not somebody who's coming in to lease the bottom floor, and then all of a sudden they're going to run out of here 2 years from now if it doesn't work. They're making a substantial investment here. This is a flagship location for them, and they're here to stay.
But they will own the garage portion. In other
Absolutely.
words, the same garage that all the other tenants of that building will be parking in. Explain that to me, because I want to make sure that those people will get their justified parking for
Absolutely.
being tenants also. And
The way
that
the
they
way the parking garage works, the parking garage is actually a separate piece of property
Right,
that is owned independent from
Which
the
we
owners
have
of the
records
of the condo owners.
right.
However, of the 302 parking spaces, 40 of them have been sold or permitted for use by some of the condo owners. And by city law, city rules, you have to have the parking garage to facilitate the building. And you have to have a certain number of those parking spaces to meet the needs of that building. That cannot go away. What the property or Volvo of North Miami is going to do is they are going to more than meet what is demand of your tenants in the building and the owners of that building, because you want everybody happy, but they have more than enough to supplement their use, which is not a great deal, and enough room for their small service area. So there is more than enough parking spaces and enough to handle the traffic that comes to the building for the people who visit, the lawyers and the doctors and the dentists and the PR firms and so forth that currently exist there.
And also address any of the handicapped issues.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, that's mandated already.
Right.
Just like the service department is mandated by DERM. DERM tells them what they have to do and what they can't do. So there is no exposed, the exhaust now in any modern service area. If you see Lexus or the collection, they now attach a hose to your exhaust tank or your exhaust while you're in there. It's all captured. The oil is captured. Everything is captured. It's air conditioned. The guys wear polo shirts while they're working on the vehicles. It's not like grease monkeys before. It is a very high tech, very clean type of facility. And again, if you've ever gone to the Lexus of North Miami, gone to Ocean Cadillac, if you've gone to Collection, if you've gone to any of the modern auto showrooms, dealerships, and you'll see how a new modern service department actually works.